So, good evening and welcome back to our 180s night. Now we are on the final stretch and that was our final break. I'm Aarnimetsa from PokerImania.com and you are watching our live stream. So now we can see that we are approaching the final tables. We haven't yet been in the final table. I think we have something like 3 or 4 min caches already. In here, opponent bets for 4 big blinds. We are not in risk of elimination. We are having a solidish hand. Let's go for it. And we are approaching chip lead and also approaching the monies there. I'm liking the chip lead more than money. Ace 10. Let's get it in. I think that there are plenty of weaker aces that opponents will overplay as well. Not just better aces. Heki was the second largest stack on that table, and we have had our fair share of collisions, and I think that that was pretty much a cooler. I don't believe that there is much that either one can do to avoid that collision. Unfortunately, it was me with the weaker hand this time around. In here, it will be a shove if it comes to us folded. And so we are already now back at 9 tables. So when we were at the break, we had 12 tables, and now we have. I can't say that we have removed 3 tables, but we have lost 3 tables. Now we have lost 4 tables. It's quite sick that in 4 minutes after we have gone back from the break, we have lost chip lead in about 2 tables, and we have lost 4 more tables. So this hasn't been a moment that would have been in the best of moments for this session. And Delano NL, thanks for the comment. I think as well as when I see that it's a 50-cent game, then I see a random opponent, then it's going to be quite easy to call in that kind of a situation. Even though the flop is pretty dry and my opponent is re-raising me. I think it would be harder to call an opponent in that kind of a situation if an opponent bets smaller than a shove. Let's say now it starts to get easier to follow. 5 minutes and we have lost half of our tables. And Kauris says that Stars doesn't like my music. Yeah, I start to believe that as well. I think that we are min raising and folding against this guy and calling this guy. And in here, Jack 8 suited is going to be strong enough to be shoving rather than... Because I would hate to fold that much equity if I'm going for a raise fold there. I think when he overshoves, he doesn't have a strong 10. The plan was to raise fold against this guy, and when he raised, then we just executed our plan. And first time we are not getting a min cash guaranteed, because we are on the second to last table. And as you can see with the stack sizes that we have in these tables, it's going to be a situation that we are definitely not needing there, and we are seeing that stacks are going to move at quite a pace, and or stacks are going to move quite quickly in those games. And when stacks are moving so quickly, I believe that there are like, you can have a lot of edge in these situations, but still, even if you are having a chip lead and there's 2 tables left, the stacks are just moving so quickly that you are not going to win it that often, even if you are having a chip lead when there's 3 tables left. But for most MTT players, it's like, I am the best player in these games and I'm having the biggest stack, so I'm going to win this every time. And done it as it's a 50-cent game. Yeah. As Cody said, that Stars doesn't like my music. But oh well, now that we lost the big pot, we can say that luckily it's just a 50-cent game. Would have hurted a lot more if it would have been the $8 game and we would have lost a stack like that. I wonder Desigual's range in here, that how much will he raise fold in this spot. We don't have deep enough stack size to be set mining here, so this is going to look like a weak fold. And this is going to look like an interesting defense, but I think that when opponent min raises there, I think still have some value into defending wide. And when we have a flush draw and we have fold equity on our opponent, let's just use all of it and let's make our opponent fold. If he doesn't fold, then we'll still have equity on our flush draw. Five tables remaining. 2 $8 games, 2 $2.5 games, 1 50-cent game remaining. Just OP. I'm wondering what to make of his small bet. Is he bet folding anything? If he's bet folding, then it's going to be great to shove against him. And if he's not bet folding and he's going to have just great hands, then it's going to be probably one of the more stupider moves this session. He did fold, so there are raise folds in his range. I take it. So then now it looks like a genius move. Shen888 used to be the man in these games, something like a few years ago. I thought that he was an American, but now he seems to be in Canada, so might be that he was American and has moved to Canada to keep on grinding. It's interesting to see that I haven't played the 180 mans in a lot in 3 years or something, and there are still players that I remember clearly. Let's try to play those aces sneakily, and hopefully we can get a double up and get the chip lead. So then when we are getting the chip lead and when we are not winning the game, we can say that how we were the unluckiest ever today. And now we are pretty lucky in getting it with aces against ace king off. And if he would have won that, then we of course would have said that how we are never lucky. And Lubas says that how much will winner take in $8 game? 27 places paid sounds a bit of wide. I think it's around $400. Let's see. $396. You mean how many percent will the winner take of the pot? I think it's about 54 buy-ins out of 180, so it's going to be around 30% that the winner takes in these games. Like the first place finisher takes about 30%, the first and second place finishers combined take about 45 to 50%, and like top 4 finishers are taking about 66% of the prize pool. As I said earlier on, that if you are thinking about these player pools, like there would be 3 full buses of people that will start a 180 man game, then one bus is all of the money that goes into the prize pool will go to just one player, the player that wins it all. Smocker raises for half of his stack, and that's an interesting raise size for sure. I'm thinking that this looks so suspect that I'm folding the ace-7 off. Probably I wouldn't even, because he's a random, I probably wouldn't even call if he shoves there. Martvix has been so active so that I'm going to confuse him out of a bit of an equity, I hope. This is going to be a bit of a perfect spot for a stop and go, that we are having an active opponent. We are having pretty much the perfect stack size to go for a stop and go here. Just one thing that was missing, that he shouldn't have a value hand there. I think with ace jack off we are going to have enough equity against this you're sucked. Especially with all the dead money in the pot already. So must go on seems to be quite reggy, and he's having 5 big blinds, so I think a shove here will be pretty good. And 3 games remaining. So we started this hour with 12 games, and now it's just in 15 minutes we are only having the last 3 games remaining. Well, when our average stack sizes are around 10 big blinds, then we are going to... When our average stack size is around 10 big blinds, then we are going to get into situations where we are going to lose some tables quite quickly. This sucks so majorly that first of all I lost a large spot against this guy, and then the most aggressive guy will get the chip lead here. Good stop and go and just OP. Unfortunately, he's having the same problem than I did. If he min raises, I'm going to probably shove on him. Also for him as well. I think that those guys are both opening enough. That will need to be... This is actually something that I didn't plan for. We are requiring about 40-ish%. I think that we are going to get more than 40% against his range. Of course, then we are getting one of those hands that we are not getting. We are not getting 40% against. Basically, only the dominated hands were only hands that we don't get enough equity. And now we are from chip lead to screwed in less than an orbit. Story of an MTT tournament. Where gladiators are fighting for the ultimate prize at the mythical final table. Well, lucky on the top right that the guys are taking each other's outs away, but oh well, it's a 2-outer. Oh. Oh, 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 oh. Let's try to get these a bit larger. One table remaining. I thought that when we are taking the last tables, when there's about 50 minutes, I thought that these are going to take about 1.5 hours on average, and we took the last tables with 10:30, but apparently they are not lasting as long as if you are not running that good on the final. Final steps, and yeah, now I have been quite quiet for a while. Now I'm getting stressed with the pocket jacks. Like, now they are going to be the easiest hand to play, but let's see. Let's see how can we shove these pocket jacks in an optimal way. Double checking that we have selected the shove, waiting for the time bank to blink, and let's shove that. And now let's hope that we are getting called by a weaker hand. Or actually, it's pocket jacks. Let's hope that we are getting those blinds. We are getting called by quite a weak hand, but it's still pretty close to a flip. And Kaur says that fold jacks. No, gotta believe. Kauris only plays aces, but we can be a bit looser than that. So this is going to be the final. This is not the final table, but this is going to be our final table for today. I actually forgot that there are also hyper 180 men, so we could have taken some hypers as well. But now that we are only having one table remaining and we are having about 12 big blinds here, I don't think that it's going to be good to take another. Another table. So today we are playing 38 games. And we are still waiting for the first final table. And players are just getting eliminated. Eliminated in almost every hand from our table. Of course, our table is having probably the lowest average stack size, so that's why our table is going to have quite a lot of action in eliminating tables. Kauri said that you placed 10th and that's jinxed. Yeah, but 10th is no final table. Ace 7 off. There are two large stacks, and these are the most important stacks because These are the ones that are likely to call. But when we get a raise here, it's going to be an easy fold. I think that it's going to be a good shove, but it's going to be on the edge. And Kauris just called for pocket jacks. I don't think that we have lost with pocket jacks a time today, so. Like, we have played well with the hardest hands to play with them all. So perhaps pocket jacks is getting rid of the curse that it has. And Danita says that 95% times 38, so yeah, those are going to be the... It's going to be the percentage of not hitting the final table, so for 38 games, it's like 14% chance of not getting an FT. And that's going to be pretty crappy because right now we are... I just checked on Poker Tracker that we are like minus 80% ROI. As I said, that you can be pretty close to minus 90% ROI in 100 games. So, like in these games, you can lose 100 buy-ins in 115 games if you are running bad. If you are playing the what are they called? The rebuys, then you can lose even more. Okay, we are in second to last table. And I think, can I get the lobby here somewhere? No, it's a bit prettier, so now we are at $12.55. It's not a lot, but it's way better than nothing. Or it's like $12.55 better than nothing. But as we can see, that getting in the money is not the point in here. The point is to get a good situation for yourself to getting into the top 3 positions. Yeah, one more table to get rid of. Or one more table to get rid of the other players, not one more table to get rid of. This is going to be a hand that I'm going to shove if it comes unopened to me, but no such luck. We can see in here actually that it's quite good to see that there are players that are, if we are looking at their stats, they are not that good looking stats. So we can see that there are players that are quite likely that aren't, I think that they aren't that good, but they are still they are still in the late game, so there has been a plenty of those guys that are started. Because in general, when we are playing MTT tournaments, the skill gets concentrated. Like on the first table, you might have like you are on average having 1 or 2 regs in a table with you. But when you are getting to something like there's 10% of players remaining, then there might be that there's double as much regs remaining compared to the weaker players. And why is that? Is that the regs are having a greater possibility in getting to the late game than the random players. And Loibas, yeah, with good luck, I'm going to win that game. I hope so. That would be awesome. And that's what I try to do. That we can get the game from zero to final table during one coaching. I have done something like before that. I have played something like 30 tables, and then I have started a live stream. So we could have had a like only late game situations for a while, and that's actually pretty fun time. That's actually a pretty fun live stream idea to do a bit later with MTTs, because with MTTs the late game sessions are usually in here. With 3-6 off, we are not going to play against this guy. He seems to be one of the tighter players. So with 3-6 off, I don't see, even though the price is good, I don't see the point in defending. In here, if it comes to me unopened, I'm probably min raising it against Sved. I think it's better than shoving. I think shoving is also plus EV if it comes to unopened to me. And Callion asked that still a shove with micro stack shoving. It wouldn't be a shove, and it wasn't a shove. But there isn't a lot of situations in when I said that it's. And in here, I'm also saying that there are not a lot of situations that we are not getting all in with this hand. If Trucker Roman shoves this hand, then we are not getting in. But I think every other opportunity would be. Diolo did that with King Queen off as well to min raise a razor. So I think that his range with min raising here is going to be wide enough that it's going to be a really good equity move to shove here. And we are getting closer to the final table and closer to the chip lead. Like when we are at the final table, there is like in this game there are 180 players that start with 1,500 chip stacks. So there are 270,000 chips in these games. So on average, every player on the final table will have 20 starting stacks. So that's going to be about 30,000 chips. And if we are lucky, we are getting to the final table with about 60,000 chips. So actually, on the other table, there are likely larger stacks than on our table. But that's also one part of the run that you can't affect, like what kind of a stacks and what kind of opponents you are getting in these tables. In here we are calling Cocteau for sure, and these guys probably we are going to fold against these guys, even with a hand as good as ace ten off. Mm-hmm. This is a hand that we pretty much can't call anyone with, but when I'm thinking, like when I saw the stats from seven-handed play and I saw that people were folding so much, I think that it's going to still be plus EV to open when we are having less players per table, so that's kind of an abusive line to take. Take if the table looks weak, then you can take a more of an exploitative line. Okay, there is like nothing that we wanna. There's absolutely nothing that we want to have to do with this pot anymore. If Trucker Roman is aggressive, then we are usually far away from that kind of a pot. But if he's not aggressive, he had limped a lot before, so I'm going to attack his limp here and screwed. Not screwed. Yay! I thought that I'm attacking his limp because he's limping like 30 to 40% of hands and playing like 4% aggressively. So I thought that in that kind of a situation there's plenty of opportunity in getting my opponent to fold. And also with ace 4, if he's having hands that he's likely to limp, we are still ahead, like we were. And as I said, that if we are lucky, we are getting the final table with about 60,000 chips. And I hope we are lucky. And we carry on, because now we are the chip leader of the game. And we can get the dominating position. Now I think that when hand for hand play is in effect, we are like 10 players remaining. Yep. And Delano says that nice comeback there. Yeah, you always gotta believe that when you are having an opportunity. This is actually like something like Jack 9 suited I would have shoved. I think that there are people that are going to call slightly too much. This is like nasty to get a bit of my own words back, that when I said that even when you are at the two last tables, when the stack sizes are going to be so low and the average spot size is going to be so large, having a chip lead right now, right here, doesn't matter a thing. We can still be the next one eliminated. Not on this hand, but it might take a few hands, and like it might be that you are having the largest stack and then you are just losing 2 flips in a row and boom, you are out. You can't do anything. And PS 2010 said that sound is lagging again. That's annoying to know that the sound is lagging. Are there any other people with the problems? Because I don't see any dropped frames on my end. Like out of the almost 3 hour stream, there has been 2 dropped frames. And Kauris says that no 10th place. I hope not, because it would be awesome to show a final table. And hello Grey Fox on the Twitch chat. In here, when Trucker Roman folded, I couldn't see any point in folding the Jack 10 suited, so that would have been a shove here. You're pretty much, and I think Cocktail needs to call pretty often there. And Callion says that it works good. If the sound is lagging for you, like right click the Twitch stream and see the Twitch player stats on what kind of a broadcaster buffers there are and what kind of a buffers for you yourself there is. I think that there might be something that your own buffers or your own settings might have. And congratulations, you have reached the final table. So now we have reached the final table. Unfortunately, there is at least one really good player. I think he won this leaderboard for 180 player games in 2012 or 2011. So he's a beast, and he's having almost the same size of a stack than we do. And then we are having also a big stack here. I'm still thinking that we are going to be aggressive. Aggressiveness is what makes our stack grow. So we are approaching the final table. Until we know anything, we are approaching the final table with an aggressive view and trying to get to a situation that we are having a really large stack size compared to others, because then we can abuse the table even a bit more. So we are not doing like we are not starting to shove any two cards here. We are not, because I don't think that there are people that would know enough about ICM to. And also psychologically, it's like they are always getting money. But in sit and goes where there are like 4 players remaining and 3 are getting money, the ICM in your mind, like even if you don't know anything about ICM, it's a stronger feeling in a way, because if you are out in 4th, you get no money. If you are out in 3rd, then you are getting money. So nobody wants to get out in 3rd, but I don't see the same happening in MTTs, because in general, if you are in the final table, you are always going to get money. So there is like no intuitive ICM pressure that you can inflict on your opponent than there is in one table sit and goes. I'm starting to worry about our tester, when usually if everything works fine, it works fine on Kauris, but now it has seemed to work fine with Kauris almost all the time. So I'm starting to get worried that if Kauris is still a good tester anymore, or has everything just started working for him. In a way, this is going to be quite an easy final table stack size wise, as there are going to be 2 short stacks, so we are always pretty much shoving against these 2 guys. So when the blinds come over to us, and there are like, I think there are pretty easy spots, like even when we are having a monster here like Shen is a beast. So even though we are having some guy like Shen here, we are still like, this is the best situation that he's exactly opposite of the table, because then I don't think that there are going to be many hands that we are going to play against each other. Surprising that the 4 big blind shove went through when there is a 4 big blind stack size in the big blind. I think if either of these big stacks are going to min raise, I'm going to defend the big blind with a suited hand. And if Dijolo shoves, then I'm going to. And now we got some showdown equity, and I don't believe that my opponent is going to hit that well on this kind of a board. But when our kicker majorly sucks, it's the weakest kicker of them all. So we are going to try to keep the pot size in control. So we are pot controlling a bit here. Not even a bit, we are pot controlling a lot here. If he bets, probably if he bets second time with the large sizing, like half of his stack or more, then we are going to fold. But now I don't think that we are going to fold to any sizing. Probably a pot sized or over, then we need to fold. But I think that when he doesn't get it on the flop, he just gives up. Like half a pot sized sizing would have been easy to. And even though he's a beast, I'm thinking actually that when the average stack sizes behind him are so low, I think that with pocket fours, probably the optimal way to play them would be just to shove them. Even though he's having like 20 big blinds, but it's only 15 big blinds if we are taking antes into account. But that also highlights the problems of playing small pocket pairs. Like, do you play them for the value? And always, if you are playing them for the pair value, then what about this? In every situation, like when you are having a pair like pocket fours, there are like only two numerators that are smaller, and then the every 10 or 10 there are 10 higher, so there are going to be situations that it's way more likely that with pocket fours that every time you give a cheap card, your opponent will have a chance to hit with his likely to overcards. So and because of this chish and a pass, we are not going to be shoving in this position, but we are min raising and we are calling for Cocktail and Swed even with the hand as weak as ace-6 off. If Chish and the pass shoves, then we are pretty much just folding. We are going to try to get some pressure on him with our larger stack size. Even though we are having ace high here, so we are having showdown equity. And with ace-6 off, I think that we are still having showdown equity, but it's becoming more enticing to turn the hand into a bluff. Not anymore, not anymore. Now I think that it's quite likely that he's having either a strong 9 or a king here. And those are, even though we are now like, we lost our chip lead. It doesn't matter, chip lead is only a number here. And if we are doing things that are having positive expected values, then we are on average, we are making money. We are making money with the moves, and like in that situation we are having plenty of value there to pressurize the second largest stack in this situation. Of course, now it's going to majorly suck for us a bit more because now he can pressure us with his slightly larger stack, but I think he has been quite passive thus far. And because he has been quite passive thus far, then I'm also min raising pocket sevens. I would be folding against him and calling these two guys for sure. Let's see how many tables are people playing. This guy's playing 10 tables. This guy's playing 1 table. Can't be found. Two tables. Can't be found. A lot of players that have blocked their searches. So we know that this guy is likely a reg when he plays 10 tables at once. So that's at least something. He's likely a reg. We haven't had yet enough hands to deduce anything more. But now we can think about that he's likely going to be... He's likely not going to do as stupid things than we can expect from other opponents here. Actually, this deuce 3 suited, actually I think it was a good call because of the stack sizes. Probably he would have needed to get it all in earlier on, but when he has just 1.5 big blinds, he needs to call with anything. And Lubas says that is it a bad mistake to limp those pocket sevens for set mining? I think it is. When we are min raising, we are inflicting some pressure on our opponent, and pretty much the stack size are going to be so low on average that set mining is not going to be profitable with most of our opponents. And if we are getting to the flop with pocket sevens, there are going to be, it's like probably close to 75 to 80% of the time we are going to see an overcard without having a set. So if this would have come to us folded, then we would have tried to steal it, and we would have gotten pretty screwed against this guy. And I didn't like this. I would have preferred this guy, even because he has been, even though he has had the largest stack, he has been passive. But this guy plays 10 tables, so it's way more likely that he's giving me problems than this guy. And the more likely I'm going to get into trouble, the less happy I am. So in general, if I don't have the, like if I'm having a situation that I'm not having the chips, I prefer the situation where the weakest opponent on the table will have chips. So always I'll prefer a situation where a weak opponent has chips to a strong opponent having chips. I don't actually believe he's bet at all, but with that kind of a sizing, and when I'm having 2 overcards, and there are like tons of good opportunities to get a better draw, I think that it's kind of mandatory to pay. And now that he bets 12,000, so the bet becomes a lot more sizable, then I'm thinking that now he's likely having a value hand, and it's not going to be profitable, even though we are upgrading our hand to a gutshot straight draw. It's still not going to be that strong. And because this guy has been passive, we are not going to defend that widely against him. And we are off to our final break. And Kauris said this is going to be the last break, but there can always be one more. So, hello and welcome back. We are now at our final phase of our MTT night. There is one final table left, and we are having 5 players remaining. So we are at least receiving $77, and we can win a whopping $400 for this one game if we are winning it. And hello to Foxcatcher. You are just in time to see the how it finally turns out. So today we opened 38 games, and as I said, that about 1.5 hours is what I expect these games to last, and this has now lasted for 1 hour and 41 minutes. It's probably a bit longer, like 5 minutes longer, because in this tournament there has been 2 breaks already. And this chip lead is limping a lot, playing a lot of pots. I'm thinking that that's probably not an optimal strategy, so we might think that we are, or we might get some interesting situations visible with the other guys here. I don't believe that Shen will have a value hand here. So when Trucker Roman folds, I don't believe that Shen will call pretty much ever. If he would have had a value hand here, I think he would have shoved with every value hand. So that's actually a pretty good spot for Chombi to shove. If he's having even a semi-okay hand. Like there is a guy that plays way too many hands, and then there is a guy that will practically never with his line have a strong hand. So even if he's having something like King 9, Ace 4, I think that is going to be a very profitable shove for him. Interesting that Chombi didn't do anything. And it's pretty crappy that if Shen shoves here, we don't have a value hand to call him with. And he's our worst enemy on the tables right now. Pretty much the best we could hope for would be a walk or getting a chance to hit 2 pairs for free or something. Well, we got a chance to hit something for free. Unfortunately, we didn't. We had a chance, but the chance didn't convert. When my opponent checks and then checks again, I think that he's not having a strong hand here. Now I wondered that can I value bet him here when he has limped? It would be pretty thin because he only needs an ace. So he had a flush draw on the turn, or yeah, with 2-3 off. Oh well, those are going to be exactly the type of hands that he will leak his equity away. I don't believe actually that Shen would have a strong hand in here either. And if Trucker Roman wins this, I'm really happy because now a really good player is gone. We got a pay chump. And who got the chips? The weakest player on the table. Do we want to shove this? Actually, there's so much dead money in the pot. And I don't believe that this guy would have a good hand here. So back in chip second here. Almost $100 guaranteed. And now the pay jumps start to get quite insane, like from 5th to 4th it was $20. Next pay jump is $50, then it's over $100, and then it's $130 or something. I don't believe that we can play much else than shove or fold against zombie, or like it's not our decision to play play with something else than shove or fold against zombie. With a middling hand that will benefit if we see every card, I like to shove here. And I think that this is one of those situations that the everything has just become like the bots have become so, or the bots have uh, the bots have been divided in such a way that we are like, I think usually with 3000 6000 chips, usually we are in heads up or the game is already completed. I don't think that we are getting to this high blind levels that often. If it wouldn't be for this trucker Roman, I would shove this, and Quinten suited I would shove as well. But I think Quinten off when there's a possibility that this guy will call too much. I think it's going to be just too weak. And there's a good chance of these guys colliding as well. If he limps, we are going to shove. Very solid hand. We could actually pretty much shove any two cards here. I think this guy have been pretty passive, so we would be exploiting the passivity by shoving a lot. So now we are back to chip lead, and we haven't shown a single hand in a long while. We have pretty much gotten from non-showdown pots from about 40,000 to 90,000. And that's okay. Pocket deuces is going to be way too strong to fold. And when there is a player that is likely to flat too often, then I think shove is going to be better than. And when zombie calls and he's having a better pocket pair, it sucks, but it happens. I don't think that would have gone any other way. If we would have min raised, we would have weaker equity against Trucker Roman, and when zombie would have shoved over us, we would still need to call him anyway, so it wouldn't change anything, and I don't think that folding pocket deuces would be a good idea either. If zombie folds, I think that then we pretty much, if Trucker Roman doesn't raise, then we can't get away from this hand. Because now I think that there is a chance that he will fold. And we are having a 70-30 or 60-40 pretty much. But oh well. Now we got the 4th place finish. Luckily it was from the one of the largest games. And this is pretty much what it can look like for the MTTs. Guess when we started to go deeper in the games. And actually we did, because we lost all the chips, we should have the chips 1 should be exactly like now. The probably last game is not processed yet. And we are like $10 in the minus, even though we got 4th in one game, and it was the largest buy-in game that we did today. So this is how insane these games are. If you don't get the top 3 results, you are not going to make money. And PS 2001, yeah, it was a showdown with straight. Yeah, that's something, but when it was pre-flop, it was 60-40, pretty even. So, and like right now, it's still like minus 50% ROI, like minus 18 buy-ins on 38 games. So we are just lucky that we run better in the higher buy-in games. And you can pretty much see that even in that game, we had chances to go really far. So, and it will show in the final table equity. And I think that now we have had a bit of a longer session, over 3 hours, so I'm not taking questions at the end as usual. So I'm just going to say that all good things are coming to an end. So will be this coaching. Next week we are having our Sunday sit and go night. I don't yet know what we are going to do. I'll probably look at our feedback thread. Then next week there will be Kuberis Omaha on Wednesday in English. So that will be our second English session next week. And when we are ending, then it's time to say goodbye. So if you are going to sleep, have a good night. If you are still shipping tournaments in Las Vegas like PS 2011, good luck. And if you are still playing poker at a more boring location, may this be a winning night for you. Bye!